welcome back to beyoungministry.blogspot.com and to another podcast out of the book of Galatians. Can you believe it? We are in chapter 4, and in particular, we're in verses 8 through 11. I'm in the backyard of my palatial dwelling here in South Carolina. It's about 78 degrees. Got a fire going out here. Got my hammock put up today. It's exciting. Wish you were here. But hey, let's get on with the podcast and to the blog. Galatians chapter 4 verses 8 through 11 reads, "Formerly, when you did not know God, you were slaves to those who by nature are not gods. But now that you know God, or rather are known by God, how is it that you're turning back to those weak and miserable forces? Do you wish to be enslaved by them all over again? You are observing special days and months and seasons and years. I fear for you that somehow I've wasted my efforts on you." Again, that's Galatians chapter 4, verses 8 through 11. When the believer in Christ turns away from Him, the believer will be the slave to something else or to someone else. Previously, the Galatians did not know the God of the Bible, as this passage points out. So they were enslaved to their definition of life and probably the definition of other things and people, entities. And as a result, these people were trapped in earning the favor of their gods. According to verse 8, their bondage to the law was connected to their lack of a personal relationship with God. These young believers were being tempted to depend upon their good behavior for their spirituality. And in verse 10, we read, "You are observing special days and months and seasons and years." You see, these religious activities included being circumcised, following strict dietary laws, and observing certain holy days. It's not that these things are wrong, but the problem that had come about in these churches in the province of Galatia is that they were depending on these good behaviors to earn God's favor or to maintain His favor, which we can't do. They did this in order to gain and maintain God's blessing upon their lives. Now you're probably asking, well, isn't there something to obeying God and experiencing His blessing? Absolutely there is. But we're not justified or made right in God's eyes through our good behavior. And that was the problem. The most surprising thing in this passage is that these Christians had entered into a personal relationship with Christ, but their problem was that they were immature in their understanding of God and His gospel. They were wrongly equating, as most do, spirituality with morality. You see, our understanding of the word know in this passage, used in verses 8 and 9, is crucial to our understanding of that which Paul is describing. In verse 8, the Greek word used for know is eidos, which is the Greek word for see or recognize. The Greek word used in verse 9 for know is gnosko, which means to know something experientially or seeing God with our hearts. Note that our knowing God experientially is preceded by being known by God first. This being known by God is followed by faith, which is God persuading us to see Him with our hearts. And if we reject that, we go the way of Pharaoh. Pharaoh, long before God hardened his heart, Pharaoh hardened his own heart. And it wasn't that God directly was hardening Pharaoh's heart. It was the rejection of the truth that hardened his heart, as Paul describes in Romans 1. God's wrath is described as God giving them over. You see, in Ephesians 1:18, Paul puts it this way, that we must have the eyes of our hearts enlightened, that we may know. The eyes, or the heart, has eyes beyond comprehension. Pascal put it this way: the heart has its reasons, which reason does not know. We feel it in 1,000 things. End quote. You see, there is a spiritual seeing through and beyond seeing with the naked eye. There is a spiritual hearing through and beyond hearing with the ear. There's spiritual discerning through and beyond reasoning with the mind. The key, my friend, is trusting Him and depending on Him to define you and your world. In Romans 1:21, Paul wrote, although they knew God, they did not honor Him as God or give thanks to Him. The key is letting Him have control of our lives. That's easier said, I know, than done. But the key is letting Him have control of your life, not so that you can go to heaven, but that heaven can come to you now and every day. This is the Christian life. Experiencing God and experiencing life through the eyes of God. This, the Bible calls, wisdom. Truly knowing as a result of being known by the one who knows all. My friend, I trust these podcasts are helpful to you in your walk with the Lord. And these blogs are helpful to you. If I can be of any help to you, shoot me an email at beyoungministry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great day.